Good morning from Middlesbrough and the banks of the River Tees. And of course behind you and straight ahead of me is the wonderful Middlesbrough Transporter Bridge. Bridge built in 1911 to specifically transport workers across the river so they can get to and from their jobs without actually all fighting over the very few ferries that were operating. So why am I here? Well, this is a river, but not the river, because we're going to go on the Esk Valley Line down to Whitby. But you know me, let's do a little bit of stations and architecture both before we get going and along the way. So I'll check in a few times as we work our way down to Whitby on the Esk Valley. So goodbye to the Transporter Bridge, and I wouldn't have mind going on it, but obviously it's too early this morning and it's temporarily closed anyway. Oh, incidentally, big shout out to Tim that came up to say hello in the breakfast room at the Premier Inn. So hi Tim, I hope you enjoyed the video and you've had a good day. You were off to Leeds, so I hope you've had a good day. Middlesbrough provides a lot of interesting old buildings on the walk back to the station. And the station entrance, well, it's right here, but we're going to go around to see the glory of the station building itself. So we'll walk under the North Eastern Railway's Albert Bridge, which actually supports the eastern end of the platforms. Stairs also lead up here to the station, but let's keep walking all the way round as if we were riding in a carriage. Across the road from the station is the Backhouse Bank from 1873, built in the same Gothic style as the later railway station. Walking up the road there is another low-level entrance, but we're going to continue up the hill in our carriage. And here we are up at track level to appreciate this station facade in the morning sun. Now, it's been designed by William Peachey, whose work for the North Eastern we've already seen on the channel at York, Darlington and Saltburn. The outside is very nice, but the real wow factor kicks in when we step inside to see this wonderful vaulted ceiling over the main concourse, where you'll also find a ticket office and a shop. And don't forget to look down at the amazing tiled floor too. And this little view down to the underpass reminds me so much of Prague's main station. Now, after the all-over train shed was removed by Nazi bombing in 1942, in 1954 this scalloped concrete area was added with ordinary canopies over the tracks. You know, I quite like this part too. And as I step out onto the platform, I'm joined by a seasonal visitor as a leaf-busting train comes through. If you stand atop Albert Bridge, there does seem to be a bit of ironwork from the original station canopies still remaining, although it isn't fully glazed anymore. And going down the underpass, well, it has a suitably Gothic feel with the exposed stonework. Mind you, the blue and white NER tiling is a very modern aesthetic and it still looks great. And once we get up to the platform, we get a treat where there is one of the 9 remaining original northeastern tiled maps. Over here, the ironwork is well kept as it stares down the platform to its plain 1950s cousins. Right, let's have a look at the route. Well, the train will leave Middlesbrough in an easterly direction before heading more to the south, with stops at James Cook, Marton and Gypsy Lane before I will jump out at Nunthorpe just for a look around. My next leg will take me down to Battersby, where the train reverses, and then through Kildale and Commondale before we join the River Esk at Castleton Moor. Then there's further stops at Danby, Leelholme, Glaisdale and Egton before my next stopover at Grosmont. I'll make the final run through Slights and Russup into Whitby. The full route covers 56 kilometres or 35 miles, and if I'd just gone on one train, it would take just over an hour and a half, giving an average speed of just 37 kilometres per hour or 23 miles per hour. My train is made up of a Northern Class 156, these 156s being stalwarts of many of Northern's more rural lines. At Gisborough Junction, the Saltburn line heads out east, but we turn south for Nunthorpe. James Cook may seem an odd name for a station, but it's actually named after the nearby James Cook University Hospital. I would say we're actually in the Park End neighbourhood of Middlesbrough. At the next station, the James Cook connection continues, as Marton was the birthplace of the famous captain in 1728. After Gypsy Lane, it's a very short hop to Nunthorpe, where this service terminates. Now, there's no passengers waiting to board, as the train will now return empty stock to the Middlesbrough sidings. And there she goes, leaving me here at Nunthorpe at this pretty little station that's now unstaffed. The old station building now being in private hands. The signal box here controls the single line working and also the junction down the line at Battersby. The 10 o'clock train from Whitby pauses at the signal box to return the token for the single track section, and then it heads on into Nunthorpe station. And I've been stood on some interesting stone blocks by the trackside to get these shots. To me they look like they're stone sleepers from a very long time ago. Do let me know if you know anything about them. Now it's time for me to get on the following 10:33 for Whitby. Oh, and there's also some excellent kids' art here on the platform. This particular one was my favourite.
Well, that's the first little hop done here at Nunthorpe. I thought we'll come here, have a look at this lovely little station with its crossing, and have a great coffee at Ziggy's just round the corner. Thumbs up for them. And yeah, then I'll pick up the train here and we're going to carry on, but we'll be getting off at Grosmont. Right, let's get on the train and see how this second half goes. This would be a pretty part, shouldn't it?
As the train pulls in, I must say it was a pleasure sharing the platform with a small boy and his granddad. The boy was really excited to be having a day out riding on the train, and it was so great to see. Whilst the passengers all get settled in, our driver will pause so that they can collect that single line token. Just beyond the station is remnants of the line to Guisborough and then Saltburn. Guisborough has a population of around 17,000, and a quick Google search shows that Guisborough is a target line for reopening by the Campaign for Better Transport. But I don't think there's any progress just yet. Well, this might be the Esk Valley Line, but we are going to start off here by tracking the River Leven first towards Battersby. And coming into Battersby station, here's the line arriving from Whitby, as our train will now have to reverse. Of course, this is because Battersby used to be a junction station with the now closed North Yorkshire and Cleveland line, which used to track west to Yarm and Eaglescliffe. And this is one closure you can't pin on Dr. Beeching, as the link was severed as long ago as 1954. Battersby is a well-kept station, and it certainly looks like the locals have a fair bit of pride in it. Our driver's changed ends, and so off we go now, heading back out along by the Leven. And we continue to climb to Kildale station, which, by the looks of it, hasn't had two platforms for quite a while. Now's the time the railway climbs up to Sledale to leave the Leven behind and begin the long descent to Whitby, first alongside the Sledale Beck. At Commondale, the line crosses the Sledale Beck and then the Commondale Beck. So, now let's follow this beck down to the River Esk. We really do have a perfect October day for doing this run. I do feel quite lucky. And hopefully the camera can handle shooting into such bright sunlight. Castleton Moor marks the point where the line finally joins the River Esk, which is of course now our partner all the way to Whitby. Right, whilst we enjoy the views, let's talk about how much a ride on this line might cost you. Well, I was using up a day of my North Country Rover, but an ordinary return ticket on the line can be very cost effective. Indeed, I've even seen a return trip using advance singles on TrainPal coming in as low as £6.80 return. Anyway, with that we're into Lealholme, which has a substantial station building, which is now a private home, although there is still an attached waiting shelter area with a ticket machine. And the Esk begins to meander, and so we'll soon be crossing and recrossing the river as we head on down the valley towards Glaisdale. Glaisdale is another one of those country locations that hides its industrial past. Because at the time of the opening of the line in 1865, this village had not one, but 3 blast furnaces in operation. And as the river gets older and wider, the bridges too get bigger. Soon I'm stood up as we begin our approach into the junction station of Grosmont, where I plan to take a break.
Grosmont. Well, this is very pretty, isn't it? And of course, what you'd expect, if you know about trains, is Heritage Railway here. So I'm going to spend an hour or two here before there's a follow-on train down to Whitby, so let's have a little mooch around Grosmont. A thing I only noticed a week or two before I was coming here to make this Esk Valley video is, yeah, they got the Flying Scotsman here this weekend, so don't know, might see it, might not. Let's go for a little wander round. I can definitely see something over there, smelling, being all smoky, so let's have a look.
The platforms for the 2 parts of this Y-shaped junction station connect here. And yes, the Flying Scotsman is indeed here, with people queuing for their chance to stand on the footplate and hear about the history and operation of the locomotive. There's lots of people here, as you'd expect, so let's cross over and get a less impeded view of the locomotive.
Well, there's lots of people over there queuing to go on the footplate of 60103 Flying Scotsman. So I'm sure anybody who's watched a couple of other of my videos will know I much prefer a Class 37. So yeah, I'd rather sit on the footplate of the Class 37, or in the cab anyway. Still, it is what it is. I have actually stood on that footplate when I was about 6 years old.
I have plenty of time until the next train to Whitby, so let's start off with a look around the North Yorkshire Moors Railway engine sheds here at Grosmont.
Well, this is a lovely spot to enjoy my cup of tea, and also Premier Inn breakfast muffin. Thank you, Premier Inn. Right, let's have a look at these engine sheds. Let's go.
The footbridge and the railway bridge over the river are both interesting structures, but more interesting than both are these tunnels ahead. The original Whitby to Pickering Railway, completed in 1835, was actually horse-drawn, and hence George Stephenson's Grade 2 listed tunnel here is much smaller than you might expect. Now, it was obviously too small when the line converted to steam engine power, so now it's just a footway. It's great to find public access here to the inside of the loco depot. And there's also a small shop here selling railway-themed products and books. It really is fascinating stood on this gantry looking down at the engineers and fitters, doing work little changed for around 100 years. Going round the back, there's still more to see. That 9F is most impressive, and I do wonder what a Brussels Tramways loco is even doing here. Visitors can continue on to the deviation shed, of course, spotting a few locos along the way. Walking back round to the front, I meet two of the newest residents of the shed.
So that was good. Not only did we actually meet a few of the locomotives, but we also met 2 out of the 3 little kittens that are now being looked after by the crew that actually work in the engine shed. So put that footage in just for my wife. Hope you enjoyed it, Heather.
Grosmont is indeed a very pretty place to spend some time, but I need a bit of a break and I know just the place.
So just walking away from the station tavern, and I really must because I've had 2 really nice pints of Thigstons, but I haven't had anything to eat. But big shout out to Finn behind the bar. Lovely chat, lovely bloke, lovely beer. So let's get something to eat. Maybe I've got time for a swift half before we get this final train into Whitby. Oh, and the Flying Scotsman, it's still here. Right, okay, let's get something to eat.
Once I'd enjoyed a baked potato at the station cafe, I'm treated to the sound of a Class 37 firing up, getting ready to drag Flying Scotsman back up the line. You see, the steam engine, it will be doing full duties the following day.
Right, it's jolly nice that they fired up the Class 37 before I left, but I just got to go around the corner here to the mainline platform to catch my train to Whitby, or our train to Whitby.
And of course it's made up of Class 156 DMUs. Right, we'll let everyone get off and then it's on to Whitby. And we are off out of the station and we're immediately crossing the river. There's actually 9 bridges over the Esk between Grosmont and Whitby. Now, I'm not sure I recorded them all, but that is a lot. Slights had a station in the horse-drawn days in 1835, but this lovely mock Tudor station house designed by George Townsend Andrews was built in 1846. At Russup, the railway crosses the viaduct and the road uses the bridge. and then we get a cracking view of the Larpool Viaduct, which used to carry the Scarborough and Whitby Railway over the river right here. And you can go across it if you like, because this 13-arch viaduct now forms part of the Scarborough and Whitby Rail Trail, which is for cyclists and walkers. Once under the road viaduct, our 156 rolls us into the terminus station at Whitby, with some of the old railway land now being charmingly converted into a car park and a co-op. I've just got enough time to step outside and view the station itself before I just turn on my heel and head straight back into the station. You see, the service is so sparse on this line that the next departure is not for another 4 hours, and I would like to enjoy the Esk Valley Line one more time in the daylight. So Whitby, well, you're just going to have to wait. The station here is once again the work of George Townsend Andrews, although I think he'd be sorry to see that his overall train shed was demolished by British Railways in 1953, leaving just these rather lacklustre canopies. Still, I shall reboard the 156, and with it being a 1557 departure, it's something of a school bus for the local kids on the line. As we return up the line to Middlesbrough, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming along with me on this trip down the Esk Valley Line. I've been asked to make this trip a number of times in the comments, so if that was you, I hope this video came up to scratch. And if you've enjoyed this one, then do give it a like, and please also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's also now a hype function on YouTube, which I think helps to get the video noticed during its first week or so of release. So if you see that, do give that option a click too. Finally, if you like the idea of real-time updates from me as I travel, quick taster videos of trips I've just done, and also early access to the full videos, then do consider joining the lovely people scrolling below here who have become channel members. But even if you've done none of those things, as we walk one more time across Middlesbrough's stunning concourse floor, I'd like to say thank you for watching this video, and goodbye from Middlesbrough.